All right, I think we are starting up today. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to see so many wonderful faces today. Welcome back to the Transition Age Youth Policy Summit. We are going to start kicking off today with just some quick reflections from our youth panelists to give us a recap really quick of some of our main takeaways from yesterday's session. So I'll start us off, and I think yesterday was an amazing experience, an amazing start to the summit. I got a lot of inspiration and motivation from the policies that we heard from and the questions that we also got to explore as well. So some of the main things that I feel like I took away from yesterday's session was just the diversity that comes with how mental health can be approached. We heard policies ranging from supporting youth in terms of the workforce, in terms of housing security, and youth leadership as well. So for me, it is really important to, again, think about those non-clinical methods and modalities for supporting our youth population and for thinking about how they can be engaged as well. We don't have to do a one-size-fits-all approach. There's a lot of different avenues that we can take. So I think that is really inspiring because that means that since there are so many different avenues, so many different ways that people can be involved, that everyone has the opportunity to find their unique space in the mental health and well-being field. So I think that is something that I hope everyone can absorb, soak in, and just really start to identify where their specialty is when it comes to this work. Another thing that I took away was just the sense of community. So between our sessions, during our breaks, and our networking event, we were able to just connect people from all different backgrounds, all different places throughout the states, and I feel like that was really, really impactful because I think, especially now with our generation, there's a large sense of isolation, of disconnection and everything, yet we can travel across the world and still have laughs, eat together, dance together, and all these other things as well. So I think that was really just fulfilling for me, just to make sure that, or just to know that we have the opportunity to connect if we just put a bit of effort into that. And I think that can go a long way when we are thinking about the different issues that we are seeing in today's world as well. Another thing that popped up for me is just kind of like the concept we talked, I mean, of course, this is a transition age summit, so we talked a lot about age. And I think something that came with that is it reminded me of a concept that I learned while I was in school. The Indigenous 7 generations principle of thinking about the past 7 generations that led to where you are today, but also thinking about how your actions will influence the next 7 generations. I think if we can approach mental health and well-being with that mindset, we can have a lot more impact and a lot more positivity going into this work, as opposed to just thinking about the current day, which is still important, but also thinking about what comes after and who comes after us as well. And I think I'll just wrap up with just saying, between community, thinking about generations, the future, the past, the present, that it really showed that we also have a lot of shared experiences, no matter our backgrounds, no matter where we're coming from and everything else, and that we are essentially a part of a shared legacy. We all are connected in some way. Everything we do is going to impact each other, whether we know it or not, or whether we see it or not. So I think that is something that I'm really hoping that we can continue to explore today and acknowledge as we leave this summit as well. It's just that everyone in this room, everyone on this call, everyone viewing the recording, we're all connected, and we just need to take care of each other as much as possible. So I hope through these policies, through these connections, that we are able to not only do that, but exceed that and inspire other people to join us in this shared legacy as well. So I will pass it along to my other panelists, and thank you so much. Looking forward to the rest of today.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Mohammed Shadid again. Thank you again for coming today. Great to see you all again. So for my impressions of the first day, the biggest one for me is that youth are creating the change we need and that we want to see in the world. And it's very inspiring change to see that. I mentioned this a little bit yesterday, but Gen Z is underestimated. were looked at as not organized, not able to get things done. But I think yesterday disproved that to the fullest extent. We had the Salt Lake City Action Board. Their premise was very inspiring to see how they caused a breakthrough to help find a solution to the needs they had in regards of homelessness, and how they were actively working towards ensuring that other youth weren't facing homelessness. And then also with Tyron and Julie's presentations, they were very inspiring and humbling to me to see all the work they're doing and their courage and bravery to help their respective communities. And then also another thing I wanted to note was about how the Los Angeles County was recognizing mental health as an epidemic. I think that's been an important trend these last 4 or 5 years. More and more people are recognizing the issue of mental health disabilities and struggles, and how what we can do to help rectify that. And they brought up a very important solution of peer support, which I think is necessary as peers in need and struggling. They turn to fellow peers in school. They turn to their classmates or their friend groups. So it's important that youth are equipped with the knowledge to be able to deal with a mental health crisis, emergency, and just in general being able to help calm down and help the mental health struggles. And then something else is Utah is actually a very cool place. I talked to a lot of locals here, and they don't seem to they don't seem to realize that. Not just in regards of the beauty, but also like creating this event. Not many other states are doing something like this, a policy summit that is just focused on youth looking at other policies. So props to Utah, and props to you all for organizing this cool event, because not many other states are doing this. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what else today has in store for us, so I'll pass it on. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to see all of you back today. I had an amazing time yesterday. This is a very unique experience for me, and so being able to share this moment with all of you and everyone on Zoom is so inspiring and wonderful for me. But to get on to the reflections, I think yesterday we saw so many amazing policies, and especially we're seeing young people be given the agency that they deserve. For so long, the independence of young people has really been disregarded, mostly to the detriment of young people, and they've been caught in systems that keep them down and keep them from being able to reach their full potential. And so in seeing policies like the minor right to consent, it really shows that society is moving towards a place where we can recognize that young people should have the opportunity to be given shelter and basic needs outside of the consent of their parents. And I think that's so important. And we're also being shown how youth are being given non-performative roles. Like Mohammed said, we saw the Youth Action Board yesterday, and that was probably my favorite part of the summit so far. They were so amazing. The work that they're doing is obviously so important, but they're clearly so passionate about it. And it's so inspiring to see other young people that are really making a difference in their community and trying to better the state of living for young people, even after they move on from being transition age youth. And the fact that they've been given the opportunity and the power to be in the position that they are in is so incredibly important. We were also introduced to LA County's peer therapy system, and that was very interesting for me. I had never heard of such a system like that, and especially to hear that the potential is there for most of the states in the country is so important. But I want to see more of that in more countries or more states. And so to see that LA is really doing it and really putting an emphasis on the state of mental health for young people and recognizing that young people can support each other and lift each other up just by being there for each other and giving them a system to do that is just amazing. And I think the presenter also hit on a lot of really important points. He said something that I really liked about how the state of mental health isn't, a new thing, and that the mental health and healthcare system has been in the making for 400 years. And so the systemic inequalities and disenfranchisement that is embedded into that system is also 400 years old. And so to undo that and get to a place where people aren't being disenfranchised in the healthcare system is going to take time, but it's policies like LA counties that are going to help us move in that direction. One of the things that I thought about yesterday after seeing the Youth Action Board present is that this is a transition age youth policy summit, and yet only one of the policies were presented by youth. So I think I would like to see more youth being represented in the presentation of these policies. If there are youth that are being involved in the making of the policies and the implementation, evaluation, then I think that they should also be able to be part of presenting these policies. And so I hope today we maybe see more youth, and just for the future, if policies are being presented like this that are involving youth, I think you should be able to present them and give their own opinions so that we can hear directly from them. And lastly, I just want to talk about the networking event for a little bit. It was so amazing. That was my first ever real networking event, and it was just honestly really fun talking to people from all walks of life who work in so many different fields and have so many different experiences. I think one of my biggest takeaways was that, especially as an incoming college freshman, how people may go to college for one thing, start in their first job in a certain field, and 20 years later end up somewhere completely different. And that's honestly really inspiring to me because it shows that you don't have to stay stagnant in life. What I want to do now may not be what I want to do in the future, but I don't have to stay stuck, and I can be fluid throughout my entire life. And I talked to so many professionals that watched the Policy Summit yesterday and were really just inspired by everything that we had been talking about, and were really willing to have conversations with myself and the other youth panelists about how they can do better in their fields about getting more youth representation. And I just loved hearing that from so many people. But yeah, I'll pass it on to Ray for the next reflection. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to see you all again. I think that yesterday went wonderfully. I am just so inspired now to do more of my own work when it comes to supporting other youth, and especially with students with psychosis who I work with doing peer support for students who have psychosis. I really enjoyed the policies that were presented yesterday. Especially the minors' consent and tuition waiver that was brought up. I think it's really important that work is being done to give minors more rights and to protect them, especially when it comes to vulnerable situations like housing insecurity. I also really liked the peer support policy presentation. But I think that when it comes to peer support, and this is something I've thought about when it comes to other professions, as well as I've talked to people throughout this event, other events, the networking event. I think that maybe there needs to be less of a focus on productivity and work when it comes to the mental health space, because if you are in the mental health field for money, I don't think that your priorities are in a place that will help those who are vulnerable heal from the trauma that they've experienced. So that was just something I wanted to bring up. There was a really lovely person at the networking event who said, you know what, tell them they need to hear it. So I am not going to shy away from some criticisms. But the Youth Action Board, I was really excited to hear from them, and because I'm part of a Youth Action Board in my state as well. But we've been having trouble trying to get people recruited and just having regular meetings, things like that. And it's because of barriers like transportation and people's time schedules and stuff, because I feel like the youth aren't in a place where they're truly leading that action board. So seeing another youth action board talk about their experiences and how the youth have been empowered and lead that action board has given me a lot of thought into the changes that we can make in the action board that I serve on. So that was really, really great. I do think that there's so much that we can do to support youth, although I definitely think that we are going in the right direction. I mean, just a couple of years ago, I would not have been able to say I have psychosis in a mental health space because people associate that with violence so readily. But now I can proudly say I'm working with students with psychosis, and our executive board has 100% lived experience. So I think we are definitely going in the right direction, but I think that there's a lot that we could still do. And I was thinking on this yesterday after some of the policy presentations, as well as the networking event, some areas of that could be worked on to support youth are harm reduction, and not just with drug use, but also with self-harm. We saw that there's really high rates of self-injury and suicidal ideation in one of the presentations yesterday. So I think it's really critical that we implement harm reduction strategies and look at least restrictive ways of care before jumping to things like hospitalization. And that kind of brings me to another topic that we went to at the networking event, which was about the troubled teen industry, and how a lot of parents think that that's their only option, but it's there are so many outpatient programs, and while we do need more, it's the education piece is very critical. I think parents and family members need to be educated about what's out there, so that they don't think that this is their only choice and do something that may potentially traumatize their child. Kaden brought up a good point about how foster youth are especially vulnerable to troubled teen industry programs. So I think that there's a lot we could do to support foster youth. I know that in my state, there's very few resources. As someone who's former foster youth myself, it's been something I've looked into, and we're lacking in that department. And then also with Utah specifically, we were talking about transitional age living programs and how that is a big need for youth. I live in a transitional living program myself right now in my state, and I think that while it's an important, very important temporary solution, I also want to add on to that there needs to be support to make sure that those who are in transitional living programs can succeed and thrive once they've aged out of that program. So those are just some of my thoughts of things that I think could improve or could be implemented to better support youth in the communities. I think this is really about not just one facet, not just mental health or not just housing. I think it's about everything. You need to be looking at youth as a whole person with a diverse needs. I'm not going to have the same experience as the person sitting next to me, and I should not be treated in the same way and have the same expectations because we are very different. And that's not to say that we can't still find community and connect together based on what we do share. I think that's great and important. And I have had such a wonderful time talking to all the youth on the panel because there's so much to learn from them. So I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate everyone who came out, whether that's in person or on Zoom. And I'm going to pass it on.
Hello, everybody. I just wanted to say I think this policy summit has been amazing, honestly. I think it's truly inspiring to be part of this community and be with such amazing panelists. Anyways, but mainly the takeaways that I want to make today is how much impact youth in this world are really making. I think there's so many caveats to the mental health and well-being of youth in transition. And with that, I think opportunities like this policy summit allow for youth voice to truly be heard. Kind of like other panelists have mentioned, I think the LA County peer support specialist was really eye-opening to me just because I feel like a lot of the times what youth are looking for are people who have been through those same circumstances or same situations, and it's not common that we find that here. And so I think that policy was really, really important for me to hear. And yeah, once again, I think obviously the Youth Action Board as well was really inspiring to see, some fellow Utah people that I was able to kind of hear speak, and it's truly inspiring, kind of like the change that we're making in this world. But yeah, those are kind of some of my thoughts.